Hello everybody, it's Kara from Wild Book Garden, and today I'm here to review two different books that both come out today, March 5th. Those are Wat Kept Playing, the inspiring story of Wataru Misaka and his rise to the NBA by Emily Inoue Huey, illustrated by Kei Kang, and An Inconvenient Letter by Julie Wright. I received both of these books in exchange for an honest review, and I will put content warnings for both of them down below. This is going to be a spoiler-free review. The picture book is biographical, and so for that reason it's not really something that you can give spoilers or not spoilers, but this is a spoiler-free review for An Inconvenient Letter. So let's get into the books. The first one I'm going to talk about is Wat Kept Playing, the inspiring story of Wataru Misaka and his rise to the NBA by Emily Inoue Huey, illustrated by Kei Kang. This is, as I said, a biographical picture book. It talks about Wataru Misaka. It follows him as he gets involved in basketball, and he's really, really good. So he ends up playing professionally, and I didn't realize this because I'm not very knowledgeable about basketball. He was the first person of color to be a member of the NBA, or of what would become the NBA. Yeah, it says in the author's note that he was the first person of color to play professional basketball, and it really wasn't considered a big deal when it happened. Nobody really focused on it, but that's a huge thing that he did and that he succeeded at. When he was growing up, it was during the time of World War II and the Japanese internment, and I like that the book focuses on how that affects his family, even though they weren't one of the families that was interned. It's the racism and the xenophobia and that mistreatment is still a part of the experience of that time for him and his family. I should also show you the illustration style because I really, really liked that. I thought it was very expressive. Here's another example. I also thought this did a really excellent job of being a biography, obviously following Wat and his life, his career, but then also talking about the wider history and the wider picture of the different things going on at the time. So I think those were balanced very well. I thought the writing was good. I thought the author's note at the end was a really good addition as well. Would definitely recommend this for anybody who reads picture books or who's maybe thinking about getting into picture books. I do also think it would be a great one to read with kids as the intended audience. And also, I want to say that basketball is not a sport I am specifically interested in. I don't follow it at all. I don't know hardly anything about it. But I still found this incredibly engaging and interesting, and I think that's a point in its favor as well. So I gave Wat Kept Playing 5 stars. And then moving on to An Inconvenient Letter by Julie Wright. This is a proper romance, and we are following 2 main characters, so it is dual point of view. It's set in 1828, and our female lead is Marietta Stone. She goes by Etta a lot of the times. And the premise or the setup is kind of similar to All the Boys You've Loved Before, if you know that one, because Marietta, she has had this crush on a family friend of hers, the brother of her best friend, for a while now. And she has written a couple of letters as if kind of to get her feelings out. Again, similar to All the Boys I've Loved Before, and she never intends to send them, but of course they accidentally get sent. And our male lead is Jared Hartwell, and he accidentally intercepts the letters, and he decides that this is a good opportunity for the two of them to make a bargain or work together. So Marietta is going to help Jared get close to her sister Anne, and just see if they would suit. He's not trying to woo her under false pretenses or anything, but Jared, his father died recently and left their estate in shambles, and so Jared is doing his best he can to make it profitable again and to take care of the tenants living on it and everything, but there's not a lot he can do without some capital. And one of the only ways that he can secure a loan from a friend of his is if he kind of proves that he's going to be coming into some money. Hence, he needs to marry a girl with a substantial dowry. Marietta and her sister do have good dowries, and he was friends with Anne when they were younger, and so he has good memories of her. He thinks that they would suit and that they would get along. And so Marietta is going to sort of help him pursue Anne, and in return, he's going to help her win the affection of his friend, who is the man that Marietta has been in love with, and the letters were accidentally sent to. I hope I didn't make that sound confusing. It's actually not confusing at all. Yeah, so they sort of have this bargain, and if you guys have seen some other of my reviews, you know that the matchmaker trope is one of my all-time favorites. I just eat it up with a spoon. I love the setup of characters trying to help the love interest win the attention of somebody else, and then catching feelings. I just think that is such a good trope. There's so much like good like drama there and like interpersonal stuff. Like I just think it has a lot of potential, and I feel like this book did that trope very well. I really enjoyed it, and I definitely think that this being a favorite trope of mine like helped contribute to how much I enjoyed the story. And as I said, I do think it did that story element very well in a way that I enjoyed. Something else that I think is like really impressive and really interesting about this book is I feel like Julie Wright used her pages incredibly well and effectively, because it's only about 240 pages, so it is a pretty short book, especially for the development of a romantic relationship. But for one thing, they do have a past with each other. Like they have like previous interactions before this, which kind of helps. But also, I just feel like the way that she wrote their interactions and other elements of the story as well, it just felt like, even though it was a short book, it didn't feel rushed. Like, yes, for my personal taste, I would have loved even more build up to them realizing they have feelings, but it didn't feel like the romance was so rushed that it was like distracting or anything. And then also like there are some sort of family reconciliation things that happen, particularly on Marietta's side, that in a lot of cases would like bother me because they would feel, again, like too rushed, or they didn't have enough like time or consideration. But because of just how well paced or how well like structured the book was, it didn't bother me. And also I think because I enjoyed Julie Wright's writing, I think she did a good job with the characterization. There were a few places here and there where I feel like the narration was sort of like over-explaining like emotions to the reader almost, but in general I did really enjoy the writing. And I also really loved our main characters, Marietta and Jared. I just really enjoyed them both. They're really good people who are doing the best for their loved ones, and also in Jared's case for the people who he is responsible for. This was really interesting too because we do actually hear a little bit more detail about what the situation is like for the tenants on Jared's like family's land, and I feel like that comes up, you know, sort of tangentially in a lot of historical books, but we actually get a little bit more like detail here. And even though we don't like meet the tenants as characters in the book, they feel like they are humanized, and it just, yeah, it felt like they were humanized a little bit more, and there was more acknowledgement of just like what their situation was like and like what the stakes were, not just for Jared, but for all these people depending on him for their livelihood. So I liked that. As I have said, I did really enjoy the romance. There's some really great like scenes between them. There's a letter that I thought was very romantic and very well done. And even though there was the like classic third act breakup, that was another thing that I think because of how well Julie Wright used her page time, it didn't bother me. Like, it was resolved in a timely manner and in a way that I really liked, and that I thought was done well. I also really liked the sort of family and friendship relationships that we got, and again, how those developed. And that's another thing that I find very impressive for how short the novel is. That, like, yes, we do have the development of this romance as the main thing, but we also have, like, a significant plot element, with Jared and his financial situation. We have like side character arcs, we have like some reconciliation between different characters, and it didn't feel overcrowded to me. Like, I really do feel like this book gave enough time to all of these different elements, and I think that is pretty impressive. And I also think that the plot of this book and like the use of the sort of central tropes, because as I say very frequently, tropes are not inherently bad things. They're just ingredients for a story, and all stories have them. So I feel like the plot of this book was done in a way that I really enjoyed. Like, not just the main sort of romance setup, although that was part of it, but sort of other things that happened along the way. There were assumptions I had made about how some things were going to play out, and I really like that Julie Wright did things a little differently. Like, I'm not somebody who needs originality as like the main thing to draw me to a book, but I thought it was kind of cool that this very well-known like trope or setup, it didn't play out in the way that I thought it would in every single instance. Like, even the setup of how the deal between them goes, that surprised me because I had assumed something else was going to happen. And then also there were elements of the sort of conflict at the end of the book that, again, I had sort of set myself up to expect certain things, and I was sort of like not like ready to be irritated, but there were things that I expected to happen that often irritate me in stories, and those things didn't happen. It happened differently. So I thought that was really cool. Also, as far as like Jared's characterization, we know we know I love a historical fiction working man as a love interest. I just really like, because I think that they are just more likable and more interesting. And so even though he is like a gentleman, because of his like financial situation and the way that his father left things, he's having to be a lot more like hands-on and actually do like physical work, and just be much more involved in the running of his estate than I think a lot of gentlemen are. So I liked that about him and about the story. Yeah, I thought this was really well done. As I said, there were little things along the way that I think could have been done like even better for me to have like a perfect experience, but I really liked this. I gave an Inconvenient Letter 4 stars. I just thought it was a really well done proper romance, and this is another one, like I've said before, that I think does a really good job of like the main characters absolutely do have chemistry with each other. Just because something is a proper romance doesn't mean that that doesn't happen. So yeah, really enjoyed it. 4 stars. Okay, everybody, so those are my 2 reviews for 2 very different books coming out on March 5th. Please comment down below. Let me know if you're interested in either of these. I recommend them both. Really enjoyed both of them, and I'd love to hear if you're going to pick them up, or maybe depending on when you watch this video, maybe you've already read them. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!